Morning. I was on the FBI's most wanted list. Actually, that's the testimony of Mary Kay Baird. Mary Kay and her husband were safecrackers and bank robbers, and like all good bank robbers, they eventually got caught. She was sentenced to 22 years in an Alabama prison, federal prison. She was only allowed out of her cell 1 hour a week because they thought she was in solitary confinement, thinking as a safecracker she might break out. So they let her out once a week to go to a Gideon Bible study on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And when she was there, they gave her one of these Bibles. May not have had a cover because we usually remove the cover for prison Bibles. But they gave her a Bible, and she took it back, stuffed it under her mattress, didn't think much about it. One day, evidently, when she's not feeling very well, she sat on the edge of their bunk and just flopped it open. And it opens to Ezekiel 36, somewhere in the middle, I guess. And verse 26 says, "A new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh." And it really got to her. It was the words she needed to hear at the time, I guess, because later that day she said, she got on her knees and said, "Lord, if you'll give me a new heart and you want my stony cold heart, I'll serve you for the rest of my life." So she became a Christian. She was let go in 7 years instead of 22. But during the time she was there, she observed the women receiving gifts at Christmas time from the community. They'd get little toothbrushes and toothpaste and hand lotion and little things. And then she would notice later on their bunk, they would kind of separate them and wrap them in some tissue or toilet paper or something. And when their children come to visit at Christmas time, they'd give it to the kids as gifts. And she said the kids were just delighted to get something from the parent, even though it's not a very exciting gift, but it was from their mother, and so they were delighted to have it. So anyway, when she gets out of prison, she was involved with Chuck Colson's prison ministry, and he asked her to do a Christmas program for that prison. So she went to the mall in the center of town and asked if she could put up a Christmas tree, and went to the prisoners and asked them about their children and their ages and their sizes and so on. Put on a little tag and hung them on a tree. Asked people to take a tag and buy the gifts, wrap them up, bring them back, put them under the tree. So the first year she had 555 gifts were given for the prisoners of that particular prison. Last year, that ministry, which is called the Angel Tree Ministry, collected 1.3 million gifts for prisoners. So started with a Gideon Bible, we say. Another story I like to tell is my wife and I got to go to did a trip to the Panama Canal a few years ago. And one of the stops is Cartagena, Colombia. And we heard about a guy named Orlando Ballin. Orlando lived in Bogota. As a young man, he started doing drugs at an early age. And soon his mother said, "You can't live with us any longer, Orlando, if you're going to do that." So he moves out. He joins a gang in Bogota, a pretty rough neighborhood. And 12 years later, he bumps into a Gideon that gave him one of these little guys. And we pass out billions of these. But he got one of these, stuffed in his pocket, didn't think much about it. But I guess in a few days, he realized the pages are perfect for rolling marijuana cigarettes. And they're just nice and strong and about the right size. And we figured he smoked a lot of pages because it was Revelations 5 before he actually read one of the pages. And Revelations 5, it says, "Who is able to open the book of life?" And he read a little farther, and it said, "The Lamb of God is worthy." I had no idea what that meant, but it got his attention for some reason. Asked one of the guys in the gang if he knew what it meant. He said, "No, but I can take you to somebody who can." So he took him to a minister that he knew. And that same day, this minister brought him to the Lord. He spent time with him, and by golly, he became a Christian. Well, he's so excited, like we all were when we first became Christians. Goes back to the gang and proceeds to convert 10 members of the gang. And he's now a pastor, actually, at another Armenia, Colombia, I think. He's a pastor of a Foursquare church. And I guess 4 of the 10 guys that he converted there in the gang are also in ministry full time. So these things happen with these little books. Who are the Gideons? We've been there before, I guess, but I have not. We are a missionary group, an extension of your church, if you will. Businessmen, professional men who, together with their wives, which is called the auxiliary, we're about 250,000 of us worldwide. We are working on our 2.5 billion Bibles to be given away. It started in 1908. Some traveling salesmen in Montana decided they should put these Bibles in hotels, that they needed them, so they started there. And then in 2001, a day before the famous 9/11, we gave the billionth Bible to George W. Bush. And then a few years ago, we hit 2 billion. We're right now at about 2.5 billion Bibles. And I understand we're the largest ministry in the world, by the way. These little Bibles, by the way, cost $1.30 right now. They vary a little bit, but I think it's about $1.30. The big Bible is like $5, the ones that go in the hotels that you've probably seen. The good news about the $5 Bible is that we think maybe 2,300 people will see one of these before it's replaced, and we go in on a regular basis and replace them if they've been written in or pages torn out or something. And so this church and your previous contributions have either purchased, if they purchased the little guys, it would have been about 3,580 of these and about 930 of these Bibles. So if you purchased 930 of these, 2 million people have maybe seen the Bible because of your contributions here. So, by the way, we distribute Bibles internationally in 200 countries, 101 different languages. A few years ago, they came out with a Gideon Bible app that has, I believe, 1,846 and growing languages or dialects. I mentioned last service that the first time I spoke was in Harrington here some years ago, and there was a Chinese exchange student there, and we were able to download this app, and he could get the Bible in his dialect. And I don't know how many there are in China, but we found it, and he was delighted, and so were we. We distribute Bibles at the community colleges around town. Give about 2,000 Bibles at the Spokane Falls, I believe, last time. We go to the fairs, equal number probably at the Spokane County Fair. We go to high schools as far as Odessa, Ritzville, and wherever, and middle schools as well that we distribute. If you would consider making a contribution to us, there's a thing in your bulletin that would provide you with a receipt. We'd take cash checks, or you can fill out a thing for a credit card and get frequent flyer miles if you like. So how am I doing I'm not getting this high sign for time. I'm okay, huh? Okay. I never know when I do this. I was given about 10 minutes, so I think I better wrap it up. Also, if you have any interest in the Gideons or thinking about being one, we'd love to talk to you about it. And okay. So thank you very much for letting us come today. And we'll be in the back if you have any questions. And I guess your idea was to make a contribution in an envelope, and then it is the way you do it here. Okay. It'll be in the back if you want to do that. Thank you.